Hello student, in this class I will discuss the topics like condensation, precipitation, type of rainfall, right, theory of rainfall, etc. Very important topics for prelims as well as mains. Okay. You see, I had said that the name atmosphere was derived from the term atoms. ATOMS means water droplet, right? Most of the atmospheric phenomena are the manifestation of change in the state of water. Getting well now? Change in the state of water. Getting well? So as far as the question of water present in the air is referred to as humidity. If water will be present in the air, it is referred to as humid air or moist air. And if it will not contain the water, it is referred to as dry air. Okay? Only moist air are capable to cause cloud formation. Getting well now? You see, as far as the question of presence of moisture in the air is concerned, moisture retaining capacity is proportional to temperature. More with the temperature, more with the moisture retaining capacity. You see, I am just saying moisture retaining capacity. This is the capacity. But actual amount of water will depend on the sources of water. Getting well now? As for example, you see, if temperature of the air is very high, but there is no source of water, as for example in desert area, then the air will be warm and dry and it is not capable to cause cloud formation. On the other hand, if the air is warm and it is having adequate amount of humidity, as it is located in the oceanic region, so it is capable to, it will be warm and moist and it is capable to cause cloud formation and hence the precipitation. Getting well now? So the moisture present in the air is expressed in terms of either absolute humidity. First is absolute humidity. Second is relative humidity, and third is specific humidity. Okay, there are three ways to express the humidity content in the air. One is referred to as absolute humidity, second is referred to as relative humidity, and third aspect is specific humidity. So relative humidity is most important, but you should know the general idea about absolute humidity. You see, absolute humidity is defined as the actual amount of water present in the air. Getting well now? If you see, since I said that moisture retaining capacity is proportional to temperature, so suppose at 1 degree Celsius it is capable to retain 1 liter water, at 2 degrees Celsius 2 liter water, at 10 degrees Celsius 10 liter water, and at 20 degrees Celsius suppose it is capable to maintain 20 liter of water. Okay, suppose this air is at 10 degrees Celsius temperature, and normally as per this data, right, it is clear that it is capable to hold 10 liter of water. Getting well now? But you see, if it is having 5 liter of water, so 5 liter is the actual amount of water present in this air, and hence absolute humidity of this air is 5 unit. Getting well now? Suppose you will increase the temperature of this air and it will be 20 degree Celsius, but it still maintain 5 liter of water. Or suppose you will decrease the temperature of the air and its temperature will be 5 degree and it holds 5 liter of water. It is obvious that absolute humidity not change with the change in the temperature condition of the air. It is clear now? Right? It is clear. Yeah, actually, what is the meaning of absolute humidity? So absolute humidity is the actual amount of water present in the air. Okay, and it not varies with the change in the temperature. Getting well now? Again, see, a specific humidity is just the ratio between the volume of water upon volume of air. Okay, but relative humidity is most important. Okay, because it is the indicator of whether the air is saturated or unsaturated. Getting well now? Or supersaturated. You see, relative humidity is equal to, from this formula it will be clear, that relative humidity RH is equal to actual amount of water present in the air upon water required to saturate the air into 100. It is clear now, right? How what is the formula for relative humidity? It is clear now. Relative humidity is equal to actual amount of water present. So actual amount of water present is referred to as absolute humidity. In this context, you can say that relative humidity is equal to absolute humidity upon the water required to saturate the air into 100. It is clear now? And hence relative humidity is expressed in terms of percentage. If relative humidity is 100%, it means air is saturated. If relative humidity is less than 100%, then the air is unsaturated, right? But if relative humidity is more than 100%, then the air is supersaturated. It is clear now? So actually relative humidity gives the actual idea about whether the air or wind is saturated, unsaturated or supersaturated. It is clear now? You see one important point. If this air which is at 20 degrees Celsius temperature is having 10 liter of water, then relative humidity is equal to 10 upon 20, because I had mentioned that at 20 degree Celsius it is capable to maintain 20 liter of water. So 10 upon 20 into 100 is equal to 50%. So relative humidity is 50%. Getting well now? Suppose if you will increase the temperature of this air, right? If you will increase the temperature of this air up to 40 degrees Celsius, and it contains 10 liter of water, right? In this case, relative humidity is equal to 10 upon 40, because at 40 degree it will contain 40 liter of water, okay, into 100, so is equal to 25% now. Relative humidity decrease now. But if you will cool down this air, and this air, its temperature will be 10 degree and it contains 10 liter of water, in this case its relative humidity is equal to 10 upon 10 into 100. So relative humidity is 100%. It means it is saturated air. Getting well now? So actually with change in the temperature, there occurred change in the relative humidity. You can say that relative humidity is inversely proportional to temperature now. Higher will be the temperature, lower will be the relative humidity, and vice versa. It is clear now? What is relative humidity? It is clear now? You see, air may maintain water in 3 stages. Okay? Actually, in the air, water may remain present in the form of gas, which is referred to as water vapor, in the form of liquid known as water droplet, okay, and in the form of solid known as ice crystal. Getting well now? So water may remain present in the air either in the form of water vapor, or in the form of liquid, or in the form of ice crystal, that is in the solid state. Okay, you see, up to 100% of relative humidity, water remain present in the air in the form of water vapor. Getting well now? Right? In the form of water vapor. Getting well now? But if relative humidity increases, right, beyond 100%, okay, the additional amount of water convert into either water droplet or ice crystal. Getting well now? And conversion of water vapor into water droplet or ice crystal is referred to as condensation process. What is the meaning of condensation? It is clear now? The temperature at which the relative humidity of air becomes 100% is referred to as dew point. What is the meaning of dew point? It is clear? Dew point is the temperature at which the relative humidity of the air becomes 100%. Getting well, right? So actually, I given the example that suppose at 10 degrees Celsius temperature, 10 degrees Celsius temperature, it contains 110 liter of water. Then its relative humidity is equal to 10 upon 10 into 100 na. So it means dew point here is 10 degrees Celsius. Okay, and you see dew point if dew point is above 0 degrees Celsius, it is 5 degree, 10 degree, 20 degree, 25 degree, then water vapor will convert into water droplet. But if dew point is below 0 degrees Celsius, then water vapor will convert into ice crystal directly now. You see, if water vapor convert into water droplet, then it is simply referred to as condensation process. Okay, but if water vapor directly convert into ice crystal, right, this process is referred to as condensation through sublimation process. Okay, and this is possible when temperature will be below 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, when temperature is below 0 degrees Celsius, then water vapor directly convert into ice crystal. In chemistry, the process of conversion of gas directly into the solid form is referred to as sublimation, or conversion of solid directly into gaseous form is referred to as sublimation. Now, the normal process is gas convert into liquid and then convert into solid. Okay, and solid first convert into liquid and then convert into gaseous form. Now, but either gas will directly convert into solid or solid will directly convert into gas. This process is referred to as sublimation, and this occurs when dew point is below 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, that's why this process is referred to as condensation due through sublimation process. Getting well now? So it is clear that I said that up to relative humidity of 100%, air is capable to hold water in the vapor form. Okay, right? But if relative humidity will exceed 0 100%, right? Will exceed. You understand this term? What I am saying is not 100%, because if it is 100%, then up to this level, air is capable to hold water in the gaseous form. Now. But if it will be 101%, 102%, 103%, 110%, okay, then this additional water, that is 1 unit water, 2 unit water, 10 unit water, will convert into either liquid form or gaseous solid form, depending on the temperature. If temperature is above 0 degrees Celsius, then water vapor will convert into liquid form, and if it is below 0 degrees Celsius, then it will convert directly in the solid form. Getting well now? So what is the meaning of dew point? It is clear now? Dew point is the point when the air, when relative humidity of the air is 100%. This point is referred to as dew point. If temperature will fall below 0 degree, then only condensation will occur. Getting well now? So actually you see there are 3 conditions for condensation to occur. Okay? Normally it is said that there are 3 conditions for condensation to occur. The first condition is relative humidity should be 100%. Now, first condition is relative humidity should be 100%. This is the first condition. Okay, right? Second condition is, right, there should be adiabatic cooling of air. Okay, there should be adiabatic cooling of air. And third condition is dust particle should be present there, right? In case of the 3 conditions, condensation is possible. Getting well now? First condition I said that is relative humidity should be 100% now, and 100% humidity means air should be saturated. As I said that if relative humidity is 100%, it indicates that air exists in the saturated form. If relative humidity is below 0 degrees Celsius, it is below 100%, say it is 65%, 75%, 80%, then then the air is said to be in unsaturated state now. But if the relative humidity is 120%, 150%, then it is referred to as supersaturated air, okay, or wind. Getting well now? So actually first condition for condensation is the relative humidity should be 100%. Getting well? And actually at the same time, है ना, you identify the fact that the temperature at which relative humidity becomes 100% is referred to as dew point. Na? Again, second condition is there should be adiabatic cooling of air, okay, and adiabatic cooling of air, okay. And third condition is dust particles should be present because dust particle act as a hygroscopic nuclei, right? It allow around the dust particle the moisture particularly है ना can sit. It is clear ना? So all the three conditions are considered ideal for condensation to occur, but at the same time you see if the question will be कि whether without the presence of dust particle condensation is possible or not. What will be the answer? Normally it appears to be no, right? But actually you see even in absence of the dust particle condensation is possible, but for this it is essential that relative humidity should be at least 330%. Getting well now? If relative humidity is 330%, right, and dust particle is not present, even then condensation will occur. Condensation will occur. Look, for condensation to occur, these are the normal conditions, that relative humidity should be 100%, right? Adiabatic cooling of the air should occur, okay, and third is dust particles should be present, right? All the three conditions are considered ideal. But you see, I said that if dust particle is not present, then whether at 100% of relative humidity condensation will occur, not at all, right? In the absence of the dust particle, condensation may occur, but for this the condition is that the relative humidity should be 330%. Getting well now? It means you see if this is the air at 10 degrees Celsius, right, and it contains 33 liters of water, then in this case without the presence of dust particle condensation will occur. It is clear na? Clear? The condensation is also possible without dust particle, but for this there should be exceptional condition like the relative humidity should be more than 330%. Na? Getting well now? Again I am saying normally it is said that for condensation to occur relative humidity should be 100%, but actually it is noticeable point that if in presence of dust particles salt particles are present, NaCl are present, in this case condensation occur if the relative humidity range between 70 to 80%. Getting well now? If in presence of dust particles salt particles are present, because salt particle act as better hygroscopic nuclei. Getting well now? So actually these three conditions are ideal condition, normal condition, but abnormal condition also exists there, right? As I have said that if in place of dust particle salt particle is present, then condensation is possible if relative humidity is below 100 degrees Celsius, say if it is 70 to 80% now, okay, and if there is no dust particle or salt particle, in this case also condensation is possible, but for this the condition is relative humidity should be 330%. Getting well now? Here there is a term adiabatic cooling of air. Getting well now? Adiabatic cooling of air. So what is the meaning of adiabatic cooling? Because without adiabatic cooling, condensation and cloud formation is not possible. It is clear now? Without adiabatic cooling, condensation as well as cloud formation is not possible. Getting well? Now see, very important aspect is, suppose this is our surface and this is unit of the wind, part of the wind. It is clear now? If the wind blow in horizontal direction, okay, and due to horizontal movement of the air, whatever temperature change occur is referred to as diabatic temperature change. Diabetic, D-I-B-E-T-I-C, diabetic temperature change. What is the meaning of diabetic temperature change? If temperature change occur due to horizontal movement of the air, then it is referred to as diabetic temperature change. Getting well now? Actually, what happened in this case? Suppose the average temperature of this wind is 20 degrees Celsius, okay, and during its movement, this air mixes with the air having 40 degrees Celsius temperature, okay, or if the wind blow in this direction, it mixes with the wind which is at 10 degrees Celsius temperature, okay. So when the wind will mixed up with this component of the wind, then it will attain, after mixing, it will attain 30 degrees Celsius of the temperature now, okay. On the other hand, if this component of the wind which is having 20 degrees Celsius will be mixed up with that of this wind which is having 10 degrees Celsius temperature, then 15 degrees Celsius temperature will be recorded in the average temperature now. So when this wind is moving in this direction, its temperature increases. There occur increase in temperature. This is due to horizontal movement now. So this is referred to as diabetic heating. This phenomena is referred to as diabetic heating. Okay, but in this case there occur cooling of the air now, as the air mixes with the adjoining air having low temperature. So this process is referred to as diabetic cooling. What is the meaning of diabetic heating and diabetic cooling? It is clear now, right? Actually, if temperature change occur due to horizontal movement of the air, it is referred to as diabetic temperature change. If temperature increases, then it is referred to as diabetic heating. If temperature decreases, then it is referred to as diabetic cooling. In this case, you see one noticeable point is, in this case, right, the air changes temperature due to the intermixing with the adjoining air, right, and hence it not act as a closed system now. It is clear now, right? It not particularly, it not act as a closed system. After it get mixed with the adjoining air, either temperature increases or decreases. If temperature increases, then it is referred to as diabetic heating, because it is due to the horizontal movement and intermixing with the air having low temperature now, or diabetic heating may occur. It is clear now. So actually, what is the meaning of diabetic heating and diabetic cooling? It is clear, right? If there occur cooling of the air, if there occur temperature change in the air due to its horizontal movement, then the process is referred to as diabetic temperature change. If temperature increases in this process, then it is referred to as diabetic heating, and if temperature decreases, then it is referred to as diabetic cooling. Getting well now? So, what is diabetic cooling and what is diabetic heating? It is clear now. Diabetic temperature change occurs due to intermixing of the air with the adjoining air. Getting well? Okay. And it is due to the horizontal movement of the air. On the other hand, second cooling process, temperature changing, but the temperature change in the air is either due to diabetic process or adiabatic process now. Clear? So if temperature change occur due to vertical movement of the air, then it is referred to as adiabatic temperature change. Getting well? If temperature change occur due to horizontal movement, then it is referred to as diabetic temperature change, and if it occurs due to vertical movement of the air, then it is referred to as adiabatic temperature change. What is the basic difference? It is clear now. You see what happened when the wind uplifts in upward direction. It is clear now. So actually in diabetic process, you see, it should be clarified, that in diabatic process, wind act as a open system because it easily intermixes with the adjoining air. Na? But if the air without mixing with the adjoining air, right, uplift in upward direction, It is clear na? Why it uplift, it is another thing. Okay? Right? I will also explain this fact, why upliftment occur. But you simply see, if the wind, this component, if the actually there are two ways. You must understand this fact to understand the fact clearly. Actually, there are two ways of upliftment. There are two mechanisms of upliftment. One is if the temperature of this air is 20 degrees Celsius, okay, and if the temperature of the adjoining air is 10 degrees Celsius, you see, right? If the temperature of air A is more than the temperature of the adjoining air, then certainly upliftment of the air will occur, right? And this type of upliftment is referred to as thermal upliftment. Thermal upliftment. It is clear now. What is the meaning of thermal upliftment? It is clear now. If temperature of the air is more than the temperature of the temperature of the wind is more than the temperature of the adjoining air, then upliftment of the air occur, right? It is clear. This type of upliftment is referred to thermal upliftment. Okay. Again, you see, if the wind blow and along the path of the wind, if wind is blowing, so along the path of the wind, there occur mountain hilly obstruction or mountain, right? Then the wind is compelled to ascend along the slope of the mountain, along the slope of the mountain. So this type of upliftment is referred to as mechanical upliftment. Mechanical upliftment. What is the basic difference between thermal upliftment and mechanical upliftment? It is clear now. If upliftment of the air occurs due to temperature difference, then it is referred to as thermal upliftment. If upliftment of the air occurs due to mechanical factor, like particularly you see presence of hill along its path, okay, then it is referred to as mechanical upliftment. If the wind will uplift along the slope of the front, then it is also referred to as mechanical upliftment. Getting well now? So actually you see, when the wind uplifts in upward direction, right, without mixing with the adjoining air. In diabatic process, there occur the mixing of air with the adjoining air, but here the wind act as a closed system. It not mixes with the adjoining air. Getting well now? And uplift in upward direction either due to thermal differences or due to mechanical obstruction. It is clear now? Then what happen, you see, since it is closed system, देखिए, according to the gaseous theorem, right, according to first law of thermodynamics, if Q amount of energy is supplied to a system, gaseous system, some part of this energy will be utilized in the performance of the work performed by the system, and the remaining amount of energy will be utilized to increase its internal energy. एकदम clear हुआ ना कि according to first law of thermodynamics, if you will supply energy to a system, a part of the energy will be utilized in the performance of the work by the system, and the remaining part will be utilized in increasing the internal energy of the system. Okay? So since this is closed system, I am saying that this air or wind or this air is not mixing with the adjoining air. The air not mixes with the adjoining air and then uplift. It means it is the example of the closed system. Okay? So actually you see, in closed system, Q is equal to 0. Q is equal to 0. So it means 0 is equal to W plus del E, where W is the work performed by this gaseous system and del E is the energy, internal energy of the gaseous system, or W is equal to minus del E. It is clear now? It means if the closed system will perform the work, the work will be performed at the cost of its own internal energy. Getting well now? Right? That's why reduction in its temperature will occur. Getting well now? So you see, suppose the temperature of this wind है ना or air is 20 degree and it retain 10 liter of water. It is having 10 liter of water. If you will calculate the relative humidity of this air, then relative humidity is equal to 10 upon 20. If 20 liter of the air water is sufficient to saturate this air into 100, then it is you say 50% na. So here when this air remain in this on the surface na, its relative humidity is 50% and hence it is unsaturated air. Getting well na? But when this wind uplift either thermally or mechanically, the wind has to work against the gravitational pull of the earth, and this work is performed at the cost of its own internal energy. That's why when upliftment of the wind occurs, right, its temperature gradually decreases, and this temperature decrease is referred to as adiabatic rate of cooling. Getting well now? Right? And due to this wind, suppose the wind is uplifting in this way, so this wind due to upliftment at this place, okay, suppose at this place, yeah, suppose here the temperature is 15 degree and here the temperature is 15 degree. Getting well now? 15 degrees Celsius. So as the temperature of this wind is more than the temperature of the adjoining air, so that's why upliftment of the air is started now. It is clear? Actually upliftment will continue till the temperature of the wind will become equivalent to the temperature of the adjoining air. Suppose at this height, right, the temperature of this wind reduced to 10 degree Celsius. Initially it was 20 degree now it became 10 degree. It is having 10 liter of water. Getting well now? And the air of the adjoining, the temperature of the adjoining air is also 10 degrees Celsius. Then upward upliftment of the wind will stop, okay, and then wind will start moving in horizontal way. एकदम clear हुआ ना? You see here the relative humidity is 50%. Getting well now? But here the relative humidity is right at B. This is A position of the air and this is B position of the air now. So at B relative humidity is 10 upon 10 into 100. It means 100% now. Here relative humidity is 100%. It means here 10 degrees Celsius is the dew point of this air. It is clear na? As I said that temperature at which the air becomes saturated is referred to as dew point. It is obvious that here the relative humidity became 100% now and the temperature is 10 degree. So that's why it is the dew point now. It will be identified as dew point. And the rate of decrease of temperature, this is temperature is decreasing now. This is referred to as adiabatic cooling, and the rate of decrease of temperature with increase in height is 10 degrees Celsius per kilometer. 10 degrees Celsius per kilometer, right? This rate is referred to as, right? This rate is referred to as dry adiabatic rate of cooling. Getting well now? Right? What is the name given to this rate? It is clear now? When the wind will uplift in upward direction, then its temperature will gradually decrease with an average rate of 10 degrees Celsius per kilometer, and this rate is referred to as dry adiabatic rate of cooling. Okay? You recall when I was discussing about troposphere, I said that in the zone of troposphere, temperature decreases with increase in height with an average rate of 6.5 degrees Celsius. This temperature decrease was recorded when air was static, to be noted. But here this segment of air is uplifting in upward direction, and we are recording the rate of decrease of temperature of this segment of air in upper part. It is clear now? And this is referred to as dry adiabatic rate of cooling now. Getting well? Now see, here relative humidity is 100% now, and I said that upliftment continued till the temperature of the air becomes equivalent to the temperature of the adjoining air. Then what will happen? Then the air will start है ना, moving in horizontal direction, it means expansion will start now, and you know that expansion causes a reduction in temperature now. So if actually you see, if due to expansion the temperature reduces at 88 degrees Celsius, getting well now, right? And it is containing 10 liter of water, you know, right? 10 liter of water is the actual amount of water present in the air, getting well now. Actually, then what happened? Then relative humidity is more than 100% now, getting well now. Suppose due to expansion this temperature became 5 degrees Celsius, right, due to expansion, and it is having 10 liter of water. In this case the relative humidity is equal to 5 upon 10, yeah, 10 upon 5 into 100 into 100, it is clear na? So it is 200% na. So air is super saturated or not? So this, it means this, but actually here the air contained 5 liter additional water, right? Additional water which is required to saturate the air now, because at 5 degree the air required only 5 liter of water to make it saturated, but it is having 10 liter of water. So what is additional amount of water? 5 liter is the additional amount of water now. So this additional amount of water, that is 5 liter of water, will convert into water droplet, okay, will convert into water droplet, and hence this water droplet remains suspended in the air, and this is referred to as cloud. How cloud formation occur, it is clear now, okay? What is the condition in which cloud formation occur, getting well now? Actually you see, when upliftment of the air occur, then there occur adiabatic cooling of the air, all right, which I mentioned as the essential condition for condensation to occur, along with relative humidity should be 100% and dust particles should be present, getting well now. But if the air descend in downward direction, you see, in lower part atmospheric pressure is more, okay, so that's why the air remain in condensed form, compressed form. But as you will move in upward direction, atmospheric pressure gradually decreases now. So that's why this wind expanded, causing reduction in its temperature. So reduction in the temperature of this air was due to expansion of the air, you can say, getting well now. On the other hand, if this is Earth's surface and this mass of air is descending in downward direction, so due to high pressure condition, it will contract now. So due to contraction, you simply say, according to kinetic theory of gases, you are right, gaseous particles remain in the state of motion. If it will expand, then the collision among the gaseous particles will reduce, and hence temperature will be lower down, as was seen in this case. But when the air will descend downward and will be compressed, then incidence of collision of the gaseous particle will get increased now, and hence temperature will increase. So this increase in temperature is referred to as adiabatic heating. What is the meaning of adiabatic heating, and what is adiabatic cooling? It is clear now. So actually you see, in case of there are two type of temperature change. One is diabatic, second is adiabatic. In diabatic process, temperature change is due to intermixing of the air with the adjoining air, okay. On the other hand, in adiabatic change, temperature change occur due to expansion and contraction of the air. It is clear now, right? So adiabatic temperature change or adiabatic cooling is relevant for cloud formation. Getting well now? One noticeable point is how cloud formation will occur. It is clear now. If when the air will uplift in upward direction, it will have to work against the gravitational pull of the earth. And since it is the example of closed system, that's why there will be marked reduction in its temperature, right? When temperature will gradually decrease, then the air will tend towards saturation, okay. And when 100% relative humidity is attained, okay, then the temperature at which this condition occurs is referred to a dew point, and upliftment of the wind occurs when the temperature of the air is more than the temperature of the adjoining air. Getting well now? And if the temperature of the air is less than, suppose the temperature of this air is 10 degree Celsius, the temperature of the adjoining air is 20 degree Celsius, then certainly subsidence of the air occur. For upliftment, temperature should be, for upliftment you see, for upliftment if its temperature is 20 degree and the temperature of the adjoining air is 15 degree, so this is the condition for upliftment of the air. Okay, but if the temperature of the air is less than the temperature of the adjoining air, the subsidence of the air will occur, and when it will subside, it will be compressed, and due to compression, temperature will increase, and this rate of increase of temperature is referred to as adiabatic heating. Okay, and when the wind will uplift in upward direction, as it possesses the temperature more than the adjoining air, then it will cool down, as the wind will have to work against the gravitational pull of the earth, and this work will be performed at the cost of its own internal energy. That's why there will be reduction in the temperature change, and this is referred to as adiabatic rate of cooling. So what is adiabatic rate of cooling? What is adiabatic rate of heating? What is diabatic cooling and what is diabatic heating? It is clear now. In diabatic change, wind or air not act as a closed system, it acts as an open system. But in adiabatic temperature change, the air acts as a closed system. Okay, whatever work the air perform, if it is the example of closed system, will be at the cost of its own internal energy. Getting well now? Okay, so what is condensation process? It is clear now. One important point, actually if upliftment of the air occur, suppose the wind is uplifting, okay, uplifting, and at this point the temperature of the air is 10 degree and it is having 10 liter of water, and the temperature of the adjoining air is also 10 degree, then there will not be further upliftment of the air. Na? The upliftment will cease to operate, and since the wind are having same thermal character, so that's why it will expand in horizontal direction. Na? Expansion of the air will further cause the reduction in temperature and the air will become supersaturated. Right? At this side saturated, after expansion supersaturated, then additional water, whatever water is present, right? Since the dew point is at 10 degrees Celsius, it is above 0 degree, so that's why water vapor will convert into water droplet. It is clear now? But if you see, if air is uplifting in upward direction, okay, air is uplifting in upward direction, and here the air attains the relative humidity of 100%, okay, but here the temperature is 0 degree. It means here the temperature is minus 20 degrees, suppose. Getting well now? So actually this is the dew point now. 20 degrees Celsius, minus 20 degrees Celsius is the dew point now. It means air attended dew point or attended saturation at the temperature less than 0 degrees Celsius now. In this case, water vapor will convert into ice crystal now. Then fluffy ice will remain floating in the air. Getting well now? If it will fall on the surface, it is referred to as a snowfall. Okay, it is clear now? It is clear now? It is referred to as a snowfall. To understand this fact, I am further explaining one important thing. Suppose you see, here the temperature of this air is 20 degrees Celsius, where the temperature of the adjoining air is 15 degrees Celsius. Is 15 degrees Celsius getting well now? Right? Certainly, this is the ideal thermal condition for the upliftment of this component of the air now. As I said that, when temperature of the air will be more than the adjoining temperature, then upliftment of the air will occur now. Actually, at this temperature, 20 degrees Celsius, if there is aquatic body, then evaporation will occur. Okay? Evaporation means, you see, the liquid will convert into gaseous form. This process is referred to as evaporization. Getting well now? Right? The energy which is either consumed or released during the change in the state of the matter, right, is referred to as latent heat. Okay? If you will supply Q amount of energy to this liquid system, it converted into gas. So this Q amount of system energy is referred to as latent heat of evaporization. Getting well now? Latent heat of evaporization, then only addition of water in the air occurred na. When addition of water into air occurred due to evaporization na, right? Evaporization is the process of conversion of liquid into gaseous form. Getting well now? So whatever energy which is consumed or absorbed at that time is referred to as latent heat of condensation, evaporization na. You see here the reverse process is going on. It means again here, right here on the earth's surface liquid is converting to gaseous form, but in upper part gas is converting into liquid form now. Opposite process is going on. So whatever amount of energy it was consumed here, right, this amount of energy will be released here or not. Okay, this energy is referred to as latent heat of condensation. Getting well now? Right? And this cycle is referred to as first cycle of convection. First cycle of convection, getting well? And during this cycle, the rate of decrease of temperature is referred to as dry adiabatic rate of cooling, and it is 10 degrees Celsius per kilometer. Getting well now? Okay, it is clear. Now see, when condensation occur here, certainly at this place latent heat of condensation gets liberated now. Whatever energy, suppose you see, I said that this air attained 10 degrees Celsius temperature and temperature of the adjoining air was also 10 degree. That's why its upward upliftment was stopped now. Getting well now? But when latent heat of condensation released there, it will again warm up certain component of the air. Suppose the temperature, due to latent heat of condensation, temperature of certain part of wind will become 15 degrees Celsius na, whereas the temperature of the adjoining air is 10 degree. Getting well now? Then again second cycle of convection will start. Okay, second cycle of convection will start. Okay, this was first cycle of convection, which is referred to as, and the rate of decrease of temperature associated with the first cycle of convection is referred to as dry adiabatic rate of cooling. Okay, and during second cycle of convection again wind is uplifting and against the gravitational pull of the earth na, again temperature will decrease. So this is referred to as moist or wet adiabatic rate of cooling, and this is 6 degrees Celsius per kilometer. Getting well? Per kilometer. What is the basic difference? It is clear na? One is dry adiabatic rate of cooling and second is wet adiabatic rate of cooling. Time. Continuation हो रहा ना, it is clear ना. So you see this is second cycle of convection. Actually you see second cycle of convection not always not always initiated. Okay, second cycle of convection start only when enormous amount of latent heat of condensation condensation is liberated, right? And enormous amount of latent heat of condensation will occur only when there will be intense heating of the surface. Whenever there is intense heating of the surface, then latent heat of vaporization will be more, and also latent heat of condensation will be more, right? This enormous amount of energy which is released during latent heat of condensation will again start the second cycle of convection, right? But if temperature is normal, then very less amount of latent heat of condensation will be released, then second cycle of convection will not start. Okay, you see when second cycle of convection start now, it is always at the temperature very less than 0 degrees Celsius now. In this case, layering upon layering of the ice occur, layering upon layering of the ice, and very and solid ice particles are developed there in the upper part of the atmosphere na? And when it will fall on the ground, it will cause hailstorm. Getting well, right? देखिए actually if the dew point is less than 0 degree Celsius, if dew point which is associated with the first cycle of convection is at the temperature less than 0 degree Celsius, then water vapor directly convert into ice crystal.